In this video, I want to show you the highlights of the iAttended attendance system, the app, and the website. And what you're seeing on this screen is kind of a split screen. On the right is an iPhone running the app itself. We'll open it here. And then on the left is what you'll see as an administrator. And these are both live and working off the same data. So we'll start by looking at the student experience, and then I'll get back a bit more into the admin experience. So basically, the key, the essence of the system is that students can record their attendance at various events. So we will make just a general event. I'll be the speaker at this event. We can skip over these fields. They're optional for you. You decide what type of event this is. So if we're tracking chapel, this is going to be a chapel event. We can add credits, how much this is worth. They default to 1, but you can give something double credit. Maximum capacity, let's say you have a room that you want to make sure that you have physical distancing, so you can only have a certain number of people in the room. So let's set this at 200 for this type of event. You can leave this blank, in which case it's not going to limit anything. We'll put a start date to it. We'll do it today, and the start time, 8 p.m. How long it goes for, minutes, hours, or days. And fringe, where you'll let students scan in before or after the official start and end. Beacon delay, you can set up a Bluetooth beacon in a room so that when a student opens the app inside that room during that event, the app's going to ask them if they want to register. We don't passively track anybody's attendance, so for privacy, but also for accountability. So for somebody to get attendance, they have to actually open the app. It doesn't take them very long, but they have to open the app, which means they'll need a password or unlock their own phone. What the beacon delay does is says, if I'm going to, and you don't have to use a beacon, but if you do have a beacon in a room that you want to use, we'll say we're going to wait till at least 50 minutes into the event before we're going to let students' phones start to pick up beacons. Otherwise, we don't want somebody entering, getting registered, and then leaving. You can set a minimum attendance for an event. So we might require somebody to scan into the event and then wait 30 minutes in this case, and then scan out. If you have just a single scan, you would have no minimum attendance. And you can also add a video link. Let's do this now, so I'll demonstrate this to you a little bit later, and then set the minimum viewing requirement, and then leave, especially if you are going to post a video of a live event. So let's say this particular event, we have cameras there. We come back afterwards for somebody who couldn't attend and post the video. We're going to leave that active in the app for somebody who couldn't attend, so they can come back and watch this up to 3 days later. You can see there's longer. And you can also duplicate an event. So if you have an event at two venues simultaneously, you can say these are the same event. I'm not going to let you get credit for both. Or if you have a live event that you create a copy of for a video version later, you can say these are the same thing. An event can be held in any number of locations simultaneously, and you can also specify how you're going to let people attend. In this case, we're going to go with QR. iAttended is an administrative version of the app, and this would entail you scanning students kind of in the old-fashioned way. But we're going to go with the QR code and create this event. So on the app on the right, as soon as this event gets created inside the system, this is going to show up in the apps of anybody who is in our school who's part of the chapel program. So there it is at the top over here, chapel event with James Duncan. I can see by this icon that there's a video option. I can also see that it's got 200 spots available, as down with this one. This has an event with 300 spots. The way this would work, especially in a COVID situation where you might want to limit access to rooms, is this is showing this is a bit different than a regular event. If I click on it, I get more information about that event, when, where, etc. where it is, how many credits it is, but it tells me what the deal is. I need to pre-register for this event before attending, otherwise any scan or any beacon is not going to give me credit for that event. So the app is not a physical bouncer, it can't stop somebody from entering a room, but it does remove the carrot that I'm not going to earn that credit unless I've done this first. So I'm going to indicate here that I'm going, which is essentially giving me a ticket for that. If I go back, it will show me that I have reserved a spot for this room. I can undo this if I get busy, if I get a fever and decide I need to stay back in my room. I'll just undo this, and now I'll see, well, right now it's showing 199 spots available. It will change to 200. And what this is doing is it's going to show your students how many current spots are available, not how many spots you started off with. So there it goes. It changed to 200 spots. So it's going to update live or a couple of seconds behind. So you could have an event simultaneously, let's say in venue A and venue B. I can't, if I try to get tickets for both of those, it will only let me pick one. So I can't use up spots. I can't reserve spots that I can't possibly use. One other thing that you might notice, or you probably didn't notice, but I'll point out over here, is as I register for this, this information that you see about your event will change, and you'll get a live look in who has actually pre-registered for this event. So we can see that James Duncan has registered at this particular time. And then if James Duncan attends this, you'll see who attended and who was a no-show for those events. You'll also see once people start attending, you'll get a live attendance list up here. Now, for this, I've got this reserved now. So for this event, let's say this is going to be in a live location. People are going to come to your venue. This is how most of our users use this in the pre-COVID world. What we do is we flip the script from the traditional way of having one event scanning 1,000 attendees, which can lead to bottlenecks. We have 1,000 attendees scan one event. Every attendee, every student has a scanner in his or her pocket, and that's what we leverage here. So each event gets its own code. So, you know, rather than scanning a student ID, the student scans the event ID. So this is the code that's been generated for this event. You can print this, you can display it. If I scan this with my phone, it's going to, well, right now it's going to show me that I'm too early for that. But here's the problem with this. You might have thought about it already. What if I just take a photo of this and I'll send it to all of my friends who aren't here, and they can just scan this and get credit for chapel? What we do to try to prevent that, besides relying on people's integrity, is create a live version of that code. So this is essentially that QR code with a Mission Impossible ethos applied to it, and that this is going to self-destruct every 5 to 10 seconds. And so in a minute, there you go, you'll see that flash. So there's an app that comes with the whole system that you can set up on an iPad or on phones, on the entrance or exits. Those update every 5 seconds. So by the time that you would go through the process of taking an image of this and sending it out to your friends, it's probably not going to work. Another thing that we do to try to discourage cheating is for a beacon or for a QR scan, we do note the user's GPS location. And so you will be able to see that on a map. So an overlay, and you'll be able to see who was at McDonald's when they registered for chapel versus who was in your actual chapel. So that's one way that we can do it. Another way, and what we try to do is give you the flexibility to balance accountability versus convenience. So, you know, something that's very accountable, having people sign their names on a piece of paper, is not terribly convenient. Having somebody register or detect some beacon is very convenient, but might not in all instances be give you a lot of accountability. So what else can you do? One of the things that you can do is create a text code for that event. So what you might do is, let's say you're streaming chapel to a bunch of different locations live. And at the end of chapel, the preacher during the benediction or after the benediction says, the code, the attendance code for today's chapel is TVV2. So on the app over here on the right, if I select enter code, this will give me the chance to enter TVV2, and I'll get attendance for that. Now, the problem with that is this can also be copied. I just send this to my friends, that even if they didn't watch this, they can enter TVV2 and get credit for it. And the text code will work even before and after the event. So if it is a pre-recorded chapel that you're doing and you use a text code at the end, it won't matter if somebody's watching this 2 weeks from now, that code would still work, unless you might come back here and regenerate that and make that, you could create that scenario where you've got a day to do this, and after that we're going to replace this code. One of the things that you can do to encourage attendance, let's say in a scenario like that, is add a challenge question. So you want to make this reasonably easy for somebody who was paying moderate attention during chapel. So here might be an example. What book did the preacher preach from? This, if I was paying any attention, this should be reasonably easy for me to get right. But if I wasn't there, this is a 25% chance of getting that right. If I get it wrong, I don't get a second shot at it. I'm going to get a message from the app saying, we haven't recorded your attendance here. And if they try to reuse that code, the app will tell them, you can't do this, you've already done this. You can add as many questions for an event as you like. One of the reasons you might do that is that even though the user will only get one of these presented, if it's random, even if I say, hey friend, the code is TVV2 and the answer is Revelation, perhaps that user gets another question, and so the Revelation is really not going to work for me. So that is one of your options. And then you can also have the video option, which I'll show you in a second or in a minute or two. The video will also work this way, that if there's a challenge question at the end of the video, when I exit the screen where I'm viewing the video, it will pop up that question. The difference is if I get the video question wrong, I can restart the video and watch it for as long as you had required me to watch it, and then take it again. So we think that's a fair balance. I'm paying some time to be able to get a second shot. And that what you ultimately want is somebody to pay attention to get the basic message and to be able to prove that to you. So let me show you what this looks like on the user's end. And I'll do it with the video first, because once I've logged in with the video, it is going to limit my options to show you that again. So here we have a chapel event. It's got the video option on it. And down the bottom, I've got the blue button that shows that this is going to let me, in the same place here, all of these actions buttons on the bottom. So for this video button, I have an action button that lets me watch a video. So it's going to, this is a YouTube video that's just embedded directly into the app. I can't from here actually go out into YouTube. I can't speed this up. I can't do anything else. I can't go and look at other videos in YouTube. I've got to watch this one. And you can see that it's showing how long I need to watch to actually earn that credit. And this is a short video, so I've only got to watch a few seconds. Now, as I'm watching, that's going to count down. So I'm saying, all right, I've got to watch just 15 seconds of this. So what if I just fast forward 15 seconds, right, or however long? Notice that it does nothing to the timer. That I can fast forward as much through here as I want to. At the app is actually keeping track of how much time I am actually watching, not where the playhead is. So this is, you might have it so that you require 75%, so you let users scrub through some of the initial announcements that might not be relevant when I'm watching this a week later. So we do track time spent watching. If they leave, we leave that, something happened, this is a long event, and I come back, it's going to drop me where I was when I started, and I start with just 5 seconds left. So this is going to count down now to show me that it's completed. In a second, we'll see over here, this attendance will change to 1 because this is going to be updated. Actually, it's not doing that yet because I haven't answered the question. This has a question for me. So when it's done, I'm going to go back, and now I get that question. So we don't interrupt the video with the question. We don't want to interrupt the moment. I have a timer here. I better do this. So this is from Revelation. So yes, I made it. If the timer expires, it's as if I made an incorrect choice. And if I try to exit the question, it's the same thing. It'll warn me. So if you exit, it'll be as if you made an incorrect choice. So now I've got credit for that. I can come back here. Now this is no longer showing in my list of what's upcoming. If I scoot over to my attended tab, I can see I've attended that chapel event. And if I click, there we go. My attendance now is showing over here on the admin side. I have 1 person who's attended, and I can look, and this is going to show me hundreds or thousands of people who have attended this event, and it also shows me how. So it gives me a timestamp of when it happened and then how. So this might show a beacon, it might show QR code. This case, we see that this person did a video with a quiz. Going back again to the student side, so we have on the first tab an agenda of all the chapel events that are coming up. Over here, we have progress. So typically, you're going to require, most institutions require students to go to a certain number of chapels each semester. So, this is a particularly onerous summer for this particular university. So you got to go 99 chapel credits. And I now have 65 of 99. When that gets to 100% or 99 of 99, this will turn green for me, and I'll see that I've achieved that. So I can go again and look at my history of what I've attended. I can see what's coming up to make sure I've got room to actually do this. So one of the nice things about this is that students are getting immediate feedback about their progress, that they actually got that attendance credit. So let's go back to the event here, and I'm going to pull up the live QR code, because this will work. The live QR code will work whenever it's active, regardless of when the event was actually happening. So I'm going to put this on the phone. I've got it in front of my computer now. I'm going to move it into scan mode and then have that scan that image. So it happened very quickly. I just scanned that, and success. We've recorded your attendance at a chapel event. That's just the very creative name I've given this. So it's not going to beep. You don't want 1,000 beeps going off in chapel, but it will give a little vibration. It gives that feedback. If it was incorrect, it will give a warning. So let me try this. This code is not going to work because it's before the event started. All right, this chapel event hasn't started yet. Please try again later. Now, in this case, I actually already have credit for that. But now if I go back and look at my attendance, you'll see that now the method is the QR scan. So even though I scanned this twice, I watched the video and I did a QR scan, I'm not doubling up my credit. It's just replacing what was already there. So even though you can provide users multiple ways to earn that credit, they don't get to double that credit. And the last thing I'll show you from a user experience is, let's say we enter this code. So enter the code, and now we do TVV2, TVV2. Okay, so it will process that. Oh, I've already submitted a code. I didn't think about this, but I've already answered that question because of the video, so it's not letting me try again. So that worked as it's supposed to work. You can also, because especially the larger your population size, the audience, you're going to have people whose phone battery ran out, or they left it in their dorm room when they came to chapel, and so they come to you afterwards. How do I scan into chapel because I don't have my phone? What you can do this in the office, or you can do this at an event, is generate this code, P7DQ. So Johnny, go back to your dorm, charge your phone, and on your phone, enter P7DQ. Now this will work because this is a grace code, so they've actually had to talk to somebody to get this. So perhaps they got that question wrong and they come to you and explain why they should get credit. So I'll submit this code. Ta-da, we've successfully recorded your attendance at that chapel event. Go back to look at the attendance, and it will show me this is done with a single-use code. So somebody gave you this code. Now I can't share that with somebody else. Once I use that, or once anybody uses that, that can't be shared. It's just for me. You can click a student and look at all of that student's records. So if you're doing a graduation audit, for example, and you need to make sure that this particular student has attended all of the requirements, this is what you'll see. So here's the student's entire attendance record for all chapel or other kinds, discipleship groups. We'll talk about nesting groups in a little bit. And then it's going to show you what was required, what was earned. You can manually change things here. So let's say Chapel Fall 2020, you required 10 credits overall. So maybe this particular user gets sick, or this particular user has an internship, or has something happen that that requires them to have a different standard than others. So where everyone else is required to have 10, you could change this particular person to have 5. And so that is going to update. If you change that, that will also update what you would see on the attended tracking over in the app too. So everything is synchronized, but you as an administrator can come in and make those adjustments for each student. So if we go back to look at periods, so let's say summer 2020. So this is going to show you, I'm showing you a sandbox institution called iAttended University, so you're not seeing actual student data. But what you would see if you came here at the end of the semester is a list of everybody in your school who has attended chapel during the summer. And you see their name, their email at your school, their student ID. If you upload their student IDs for us, we'll report it back to you. We don't need it, but you can do that, and then it'll show completed versus required. If they've completed the required amount equal or greater than, this will be green. This can be downloaded as a spreadsheet, or you can also, there's an API. So if you have an IT department, you can give them all of the settings and they can pull all of this data in anytime they want to. So you get these period reports, you get a list for each event, and you get a detailed list for each student, and then everything's clickable. So I could click on a student, I can click on a period, I can click on an event. All right, so click on the chapel event, that's going to take me back to this screen. I can see who else attended that event. One other thing that you'll see in this, if we go back to the summer of 2020, ghosts up here. One of the things we'll let you do if you want to is you can upload a list of emails of all of the people that you know or expect to be in your chapel program for the semester. So that's pretty much going to be all your enrolled on-campus students. When at the beginning of the semester, everybody's going to be on here. What we'll do is that every time somebody attends chapel for the first time during the summer, we remove their name from this list. So you can come here anytime during the semester and see who's ghosting you, who hasn't actually been to chapel yet. So now I can click on this name. It will open up an email. All right, there we go. So it opens up an email, and I can send an email to this student. I can also, if it's a bunch, I can download this as a spreadsheet and send, be blind carbon copy to a bunch of people all at once. So we want to help you stay on top of, what's happening, or in this case, what's not happening. So that's the basic data that you'll get back. Now, one question that I'll answer here or deal with here that you may have is, what happens if a student doesn't have a smartphone? Because scanning and beacons and all of that is very well and good, but what happens if they don't have that? Because especially you get 1,000, 2,000 people, you're going to have a few people who don't. You could give them $20, tell them to go to Walmart and get a burner phone, or you can do this. Any student can come to this website, iAttendedApp.com, log in, and they will have a unique identifier. This is the equivalent of a student ID card that you might have used traditionally. They'll have the Scan Me, and over on the app, let me pull that back up on the screen here. On the app, you see there's a Scan Me button here. So I can turn my app into a card that can be scanned. So somebody who didn't have a smartphone comes to the website, prints this out, and then can come, knows who to go to at the end of each event. And we have this iAttended app, which is designed for administrators. And so here we have a chapel event with James Duncan. It's the one we just are doing now. And I can put this in scan attendees mode. And now I'll scan this. So I have Johnny, who doesn't have his phone, doesn't have a phone, just knows to come up to me after this event. And all I need to do is scan. If he's printed this out, print it out, laminate it, I can do that. You can also, for any event, you don't want to make a habit of this, I think, but what you can do is, if I go to attendance here and add an attendee. So if Johnny just doesn't ever have a way to get access to getting attendance, I just start searching by the email or by the name, and then I can add that person to the event manually. Again, you don't want to do this for 1,000 people, but there will always be those hard cases, those special cases. And so what we have tried to build in is a way for you as an administrator to take care of those without having to make people jump through, you or the students jump through too many hoops. Now, pulling back on a broader scale here to show you how this works. And then to think about, maybe get you thinking about how you might apply this in your own institution. The first thing we do is define a type of event. So we call these event types. So I'll pull up Edit. It'll show you the same screen as if I'm creating it. So Chapel is our primary program. We can add a description. We don't need to add that description. What happens with that is just in the app, if I look under Progress for Chapel and then hit Information, it'll show me the vital statistics for this particular semester, this particular period, and then a little bit of a description that I've provided here. One of the things that in the app, when somebody downloads the app doesn't know they're at your school. So we invite people to log in with Facebook, Google, or Apple. So in our experience, and probably in yours, 99% of people or users already have one of those accounts set up, and as a bonus, are already logged in on their phone with that credential. So the idea of trying to scratch, figure out what your password was to get in here, it's really easy for people to get in here. So they just click Google, Facebook, Apple, they're usually straight in. The problem with that is your Gmail account is, you're something like rollercoasterfan@gmail.com. If you're seeing rollercoasterfan in your attendance list, how do you know who that is? So what we do is we say, now it won't be iAttended app, but we know what your school's email address is. So we can say, we only want people who we have confirmed have an email at our school. And so what will happen here is we'll create a chapel event. And so the very first time somebody logs in or tries to log into or scan a chapel event, the app will pop up a little screen and say, we've saved that, great, we've saved that, but we need to know who you are at your school. So what's your email? And you just have to put in the first part of it because we know what the second part of it is. And then the system will send them an email to just verify that. They click that, yes, they've got it. So at least we know they have the password to log into your email system. And from then on, you no longer see them as rollercoasterfan@gmail. You see them at bobby@yourschool.edu. So that becomes that primary identifier. So when we send reports back to you, when you upload reports, that's the key piece of detail. You can also upload user IDs. I showed you on the previous screen where we'll report those to you. If you want us to have them, that's great. We don't need it. Some schools don't want us to know that. We don't want to know it if you don't want us to know it, but it's there for you to use if you want to. Now, one of the other things you can do here is create a child of an event type. So let's say, see here we have a discipleship group. And this is something that a lot of schools are looking at, especially in COVID situation where you'll have smaller groups who are meeting or discipleship groups who are meeting, and so you can earn some of your credits in those things rather than coming to these big events where we're sharing all of our germs. So what we do here is we set up this as a subtype of chapel. We can decide whether or not, if somebody is in chapel, are going to see all these discipleship groups or not. So let's say you had a concert series, and every so often you had a concert and you're going to give certain credit for that. We're going to assume, if you're attending chapel, you probably want to know this. But a discipleship group, you might have 20 of them. And so you don't want your screen in the app filled up with 20 discipleship groups or 19 discipleship groups that you don't care about. So we'd say, in this case, don't display it. So we'll give this a more specific name, right? The Brown discipleship group. And only the first time that I go to a Brown discipleship group, or there is another way you can put me into that, but I will then see in my app all the general chapels and the Brown discipleship group versus my friend who is going to see all chapel events and the Green discipleship group. So it's going to focus my attention on things that matter to me. And then you can see the other options here too. So we can say you can get chapel credit. It will flow up to chapel by going to your discipleship group, but no more than 6. Or we can also weight it. So a discipleship group meeting is worth a half of a chapel credit. One of the things you might think about doing is providing a bunch of short videos, like the Bible Project videos, the summaries of Bible books, and you could provide those, let people do that, and each one of those counts for 10% of a chapel credit or 20% of a chapel credit. So there's ways you can get creative by being able to slice and dice how much they might contribute and what that cap is. So that's what you can do with events, and all these can be infinitely nested. So you could have a discipleship group and then as a general category, and then specific discipleship groups under that. As you are getting set up, if you go with the program, you can talk to me about what you're planning, and I can help walk you through this and think through the best way to configure this kind of thing. So you would create these event types, and then you would create a period. So think a semester generally. So we are going to create, chapel for fall 2020. It's going to be of type chapel, and we're going to require 20 chapel attendance credits for the semester. What I can do here is decide how much I want to protect my original chapel program. So let's say I've got discipleship groups and I have BCM and RUF and FCA as ways that people can earn credit towards chapel. What you might not want to do is let people never have to come to chapel, right? That they earn all of their credits doing something else. So what we're going to say here is, no matter what you do in all of these other opportunities, at least 10 of your chapel credits have to come from coming to a traditional chapel. So you can, if you leave this blank, I can get all of my credits somewhere else. I can set it to something like this. So 3/4 of your credits have to come from actual chapel, and then you've got all of these other things that can filter up. Then we add a start and end date, the start and end of the semester. These are optional. You don't need to do this. There might be some schools that you've got to have 60 credits total while you're a student. Well, we just would leave start and end date blank, and we just track who's got 60 credits as they move along. So now any event, if I create this, starting August 1st, we go through to the end of November. So any event that starts between August and November is going to give me credit towards chapel. So how do you get people into the program? Since when they download the app, we don't know that they're at your school. There's a couple of ways to do this. One is, once you've created a chapel program, you can create a 0 credit. I won't go through the process here, but what we can do is just create a 0 credit event and generate. Once we've done this, we can generate. We'll do this, right? Welcome. We'll do this. Welcome to chapel. The date doesn't matter. In fact, it's better if it's in the past, because we don't want this to show up on the phones. None of this matters. All that matters is it's chapel and 0 credits. We submit it. And then once we get to this screen, we're going to create a text code for it. And so now what you do, that's a little, looks a little awkward, so we'll maybe regenerate that into something else. Nah. So anyway, find something that you like. But what you would then do is during orientation or in a welcome email before the semester, you say, we're going to be using the iAttended app for chapel attendance. Here are the links to download it, Android and iOS. Once you've downloaded it, enter, hit the enter a code and enter 9U74. That's going to make them an attendee at this chapel event, right? But what we're really doing is identifying them as being chapel, being part of your chapel program, and it will take them through the steps to verify that they've got an email at your school. So when they've done that, now their screen is going to be full of all of your chapel events. So they'll be ready to go. The app's going to be filled with data before they even get on campus. And they'll also see, they've got what your progress settings are, how many events I need to have for the summer, and all of this will populate as well. What I've attended, none yet. Well, it'll show one, just 0 credits, what's coming up. The other thing that you can do is, if we go back to periods and look at this upload data. So you can do this with a spreadsheet. You can also do this with an API. So your IT department can work this up if you want them to. So if you know who's supposed to be coming to chapel, you can create a spreadsheet just with their emails, with their school emails. So bob@school.edu. And then we'd select auto subscribe. So you're going to upload this. It might be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 names on it. And we'll just be waiting for them. So as soon as they download the app, they can go to, so rather than having them actually enter a code, if they use an account, some schools use Gmail as their institutional accounts, but if they've used an account that is the same as your school account, they will automatically be enrolled in your chapel. So that data will show up in their first screen, but they can also add an email. So, this is all I've got to do is add an email here. So even if I've logged in with rollercoasterfan@gmail, I can now just enter, hey, I'm Bobby@school.edu. Once I click the email that gets sent to me, now it will come back to this list and recognize that I'm supposed to be in chapel. And by the time that I get back to this, now my app is going to show me all of the chapel events that are coming up for that semester. So there's a user guide here that you can access. It gives kind of more detailed information on how to structure things like these children of events. You can create administrators with different levels of access. So let's say you have the Brown Discipleship Group or Dorm Bible Study. What you can say is, Bobby@email.com is going to manage the Dorm Bible Study. So Bobby can now come to iAttendedapp.com, log in, and Bobby will only be able to see events and records related to the Dorm Bible Study. He will be able to, or she will be able to, create new Dorm Bible Studies, but nothing else. You can also have somebody who is only able to monitor, so can come in and look at records for Dorm Bible Studies, but can't create anything. So you can create permissions so that you don't have to have a single person who's doing all of that data entry. You can decentralize it, but in decentralizing it, you're also siloing off information. If you're watching this, you're probably going to be a global administrator, which means you can do anything. You can create anything. One thing that you can do is, I don't know if this matters to you, but the app is intended for students attending chapel, as most of my examples have shown, but you can also use it for things like staff meetings, or faculty meetings, or HR events, so that with no extra cost. So you can, if you have human resources who have some training event and they need a record of everybody who was there, one of the things you can do is just create an event type. Because I am not automatically subscribed to those things, if there's an HR event and I'm a student, that HR event is not going to show up on my app. it will show up for your staff or for people who have been to an HR event before. So you can have them come to that event, and then give them maybe in a case like that, just give them the text code to enter ABCD on your phone, and you'll get credit for this, but you'll also see on your phone when our next HR event, next staff, faculty, etc. meeting is. You can, if you want to, you can let your student clubs or various activities use this. So the license is based on the number of students you have in your chapel program, basically the number of people that you obligate to get chapel credit. But you can distribute use beyond that. So you can have your BCM, RUF, FCA groups use it if they want to. You can have, I know one school has a theater group that have to meet once a year, and they need once a semester, they need a roll of who was there. So they have it set up as a special event type. Somebody manages that, and they function by themselves. If you're doing the chapel, you never see it. You never have to care about that data. So you have a lot of flexibility in how you can use it on your campus. I hope this demo has shown you a bit of the flexibility that you have in configuring, in layering different types of events. And I think this is something that we've developed over the last couple of years. And this is a niche product. It's for Christian colleges that have chapel programs. Essentially, you could use it outside of that, but that's our main clientele. And so it's designed to be able to handle the kinds of things that our clients have dealt with. And we're still adding features as people request them, and most of the cases, in most cases, something that you want is something that other people could use as well. So if you want to do this again, if you want to have a live meeting where we talk about maybe your particular configuration, please reach out to me. But I hope this has been enough to give you a feel for what the app does. If you are interested, I can set you up an account like this where you can, for an institution, like here's our organization details. So this is where we define what our email address is. So I can set up an account for you, no obligation, play around with it. And then if and when you're ready to go ahead, you can let me know and we'll write a contract. You'll have access to the user guide. There's API settings here. So if we don't need, one of the things that's important about this app is we don't need your IT department to be involved. We don't need their help. But if they want to or are interested in it, this is basically computer stuff how computers talk to each other. There's lots of data that we share with you. From what the data is, you're paying for the data. We're giving you that data. We're not giving it to you. We're selling it to you, but giving you multiple ways to be able to access that data. So that's also there for you to access as well. So I'm going to stop here and hope this was informative, and feel free to share it. And any questions, James at iAttended.app.com, and I'll be happy to help you.